morning. It was a couple of minutes to come in.
Take nothing less than the supreme best. Do not obey, you must be forsake, but you can pass the test. Just move on.
Kaleena, I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Kaleena.
No, I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
I'm gonna come back.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Kaleena had to pop out. She'll be right back in. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's rainy morning, right?
Right.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so nobody heard all of those good mornings I was giving out?
Yeah, we few of them. We heard a few.
We heard a few.
On a roll. Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We are going to get started shortly. And so just wanted to take a moment to say good morning to everyone and to welcome you to class. We are all together here in the Zoom room, but as you know, we will be broadcasting live to Facebook. At that time, all of you all will be muted, all right? So you will not be able to unmute yourself. The only person who we will be hearing from is myself, Ms. Greene, my co-host, and Superintendent Leon. But at the time when questions are able to be asked, and also if you have a question during the presentation, you can put it in the chat, all right? So we are watching the chat closely, and if appropriate, we will ask the superintendent a clarifying question, but for the most part, we will allow him to do his thing, go through his presentation, and we will keep track, Ms. Greene will keep track of your questions. So once again, thank you all for being here. And before we get formally started, I know this has been such a trying time for all of us, and especially for the superintendent. So I just want us to give him some virtual love, some round of applause, just to say thank you for pressing through, for doing his thing, and making sure that we could make it to this moment. So let's give him some absolute love for that. So Israel.
We love those virtual emojis, so keep those coming.
Yes,
We can see them all.
All right, so Israel, are we ready to go live? Okay, so we are going to transition over and we're going to put up our opening slide and officially begin class.
Hold on, it's still not live yet. I know it says it at the top, but on my end.
I'm gonna mute everyone, so thank you for being
We're live.
All right, we have to mute everyone and put up our opening slide. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Abbott Leadership Institute's Parent Power Hour. My name is Kaleena Berryman, and I'm the director of the Abbott Leadership Institute at Rutgers University, Newark. And we are excited to have you all with us today as we hear from Superintendent Roger Leon. Before we get started, we're going to work on muting everyone. So Israel has to mute.
Hold on, Kaleena. Hold on, Kaleena. When we mute everyone, that included you.
It includes me too. Thank you.
Good.
All right. So welcome, everyone. As you all are well aware, this last year has been a trying one for all of us. It has been a challenging year as we have faced a pandemic that has closed schools and required our superintendent and the district and our educators and our parents and young people to pivot and really upside down, just turn our world to remote learning and being home with our children. As a mother myself, I can absolutely say that it was the challenge of a lifetime. And so it required us to think differently about education. It required us to make some significant changes in the delivery of education to our young people. Even at ALI, it required us to change how we operate, which included virtual learning for our Youth Media Symposium and our College Success Center. And now this Parent Power Hour, we would normally on a Saturday, be an hour and a half into class together on the Rutgers University Newark campus. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are virtual, and we're here broadcasting on Zoom and on Facebook. However, before the pandemic, there was another time, and it was a time of renewal, a time of hope. We ushered in the return of local control and a new superintendent, a homegrown leader with 25 years of experience in our district. At that time, Superintendent Roger Leone. And we embarked on a journey. First, we looked at the Clarity 2020 plan. Wait, I don't make sure I'm not saying it wrong. Hold on. Clarity, NPS Clarity 2.0, I think it was. And we looked at that first year. The superintendent looked at past strategic plans and also the voices of community and educators and parents. And we developed that one-year plan about transitioning into his leadership. And then led by Creed Strategies and the phenomenal Dr. Lauren Wells, who's with us also today, we decided to look at the next decade for Newark Public Schools and to create a vision that honored the past, honored the present, but also looked to where we wanted to go as a city for our young people. And that was a very exciting time. I had the privilege of co-leading with Dr. Wells, the youth portion of that work. But there were countless meetings and conversations and opportunities for all of us to add our voices. And so it was a hopeful time. It was an exciting time. And the purpose of this class, now that we are transitioning back into our school buildings and our children are transitioning back as closely as we can possibly get to what they've known before, we wanted to kind of remind ourselves of that plan, that revolutionary plan. The Newark Public Schools has never had a 10-year plan. And so we wanted to remind ourselves of that by a presentation from our superintendent, and also to learn about the new school options. In the middle of a pandemic, we were able to create the Board of Education and the leadership and all of the educators that were involved in the process, some new schools that are very exciting. And I've heard a lot of our parents and young people really, really excited about what is to come and about being a part of these schools. And so thank you for joining us today. Before we hear from our superintendent, though, we have to take a moment to say congratulations to ALI's own Wilhelmina Holder. Let's give it up virtually and send some love to Ms. Holder. And yes, she was the winner, one of the winners from Newark. There were 4 from Newark: Kim Gaddy, Amanda Iboskia, Marie Torres, and Ms. Holder. And this is very special for Ms. Holder because ALI came together, Secondary Parents Council came together, other people from the community came together, and we nominated Ms. Holder for this award because we knew that she was truly deserving. And she won the 25th anniversary Russ Berry Making a Difference Award, honoring New Jersey heroes. We knew that Ms. Holder was a hero, but it was so glad to see her recognized in this way. Each of the winners received a monetary gift as a part of the award. And so we just wanted to take a moment and say, congratulations, Mimi Holder. We love you and we appreciate you. And we thank you so much for your countless years of service and leadership in this city. All right, so now that that is done, Ms. Greene, is there anything else that needs to be said before we bring on our guest of honor today?
No, I think that's it. I think we're ready to go.
All right, so we don't want to take up any more time. I am very proud to welcome, and as we transition over, Superintendent Roger Leone. Superintendent Leone is a 25-year educator in the city of Newark and leader. He has taught thousands and mentored hundreds, and among that hundreds has included young people and educators looking to make a difference in the lives of young people. As an assistant superintendent for 10 years, he has driven a plethora of major initiatives, education reforms, and standard changes. In July of 2018, he became the superintendent of Newark Public Schools. Immediately after his appointment, he looked at strategic plans of predecessors and created the one-year strategic plan, NPS Clarity 2020. I was right the first time, okay. The next decade is the first time in the history of NPS that a 10-year plan has been created. The process, led by Creed Strategies and Dr. Lauren Wells, was multi-month and included the voices of parents, educators, community, and youth. And so to present us with an update on the NPS strategic plan and the new school options, we are proud to welcome Superintendent Roger Leone. And welcome, Superintendent. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I would want to start by saying that the actual honored guests today are all of the moms that are on the call. A big happy Mother's Day for you, a little early, obviously, but please know that tomorrow, sending you nothing but lots of love. Some incredible women that I saw logging on to this session. So I'm appreciative of all of them, obviously. I'm excited about just a lot that's occurring and to share that with all of you right now. We'll start with kind of an update as to where we are given the realities of COVID-19. So on April 12th, we began in-person instruction at all of the schools in Newark, depending on the classroom, depending on the grade. One of the things that COVID-19 has taught us is that the way that you actually respond to it is different person by person. It's not something person by person, family by family. It's such an evil virus that the solution has to be a multi-pronged approach to actually trying to deal with the realities of it. So in the school system on April 19th, we were able to move from 2 days a week, which was the original guidance that we provided. The parents had indicated that they would, in fact, by numbers, be returning. And so we were able to extend that for 4 days during the week. This past week, 2 schools, 14th Avenue and New Jersey Regional Day School, both of them were able to go for a full 5 days. So we're extremely proud of that. We're obviously grateful to the principals, all of the staff members at the schools, the parents who have made incredible sacrifices. We know that everyone has sacrificed, but teachers were always planning to teach. Parents weren't planning not to teach because no, parents are the first teachers of their children. But parents were not expecting what in fact was, and in some instances, the teaching of their children, the converting of kitchens and dining rooms and living rooms and bedrooms, hallways into classrooms. So obviously a big, thank you to all of them. One of the ways that we tried to send a thank you, and there are different ways that we're doing it for different folks in the school system, is that I purchased caps, gowns, diploma covers for all of the students across the 8th grade and the high school. So that was just a little token of monies that at least parents weren't going to have to worry about spending for their children for our graduation. That's the other thing. Our graduations will be on the 25th of June. At least that's when they will begin. Some will actually go a little bit further into the school year. In the March of 2020, where we weren't expecting to be where we are right now, to today, we have distributed over 27,000 Chromebooks. Wi-Fi access by Altice through June of last year was free. However, Altice advised us that if that we would actually, the parents had to pay, or that the school system would have to pay. So obviously what we did is we paid for all of the Wi-Fi access throughout this whole entire school year. The only people that we can actually pay for the use of Wi-Fi are the students that are using our Chromebooks. That was one of the conditions that was set up by Altice, but that has worked out to the degree that we could say anything has worked out during a global pandemic. And then obviously we purchased about 2,000 hotspots that have assisted students who were in particular parts of the city where access was rough. So the fact that we have a couple of more weeks of school, our objective was to make sure that we were providing a safe experience for our students. And ultimately, that's what we were able to accomplish. And we were able to accomplish that with the kids in person. We have a very, very aggressive summer program. So I know that there are people who are going to drop some links for me during the meeting. So obviously the link to the summer programs would obviously be something that I would want folks to have. In the process, we would, from learning loss to unfinished learning is where we're at right now. So doing a lot of assessments that will occur at the at the start of June for the end of the school year will be very, very helpful to inform instruction come next year. Creating an individual learning plan for every student will also create an idea that the teachers that are affording instruction to students today will hand off to students next year the opportunities to at least be ready before the students actually start.
All right. So there are some questions. We're keeping track of them, and if they make the time to ask later, we will. But for now, we absolutely want to transition into the main event on the actual 10-year plan and the new schools opening. So we're going to allow that opportunity for us to switch to the presentation. And there are links being dropped into the chat. What we will do is we will gather that information and share it out with everyone as soon as we can. All right, your PowerPoint is ready.
Thank you. So there were a number of questions that I know Kaleena shared with me. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to thank her leadership, very, very important. Everyone that's on the staff to make this happen for all of us. Okay, great. Can we go to the next slide? So the mission statement of the district is to deliver an academically rigorous and culturally responsive instructional program that prepares every student for success and builds knowledge, strengthens character, cultivates ingenuity, and fosters leadership. The vision statement of the district is to build an educational ecosystem that provides a world-class education for every child in Newark. We have set core values. I think this is extremely important that the school system will focus around these 5 basic principles, that children are at the center of all of the actions that we do, that our commitment is to nothing but excellence, that we believe in reciprocal relationships, that it's not only good for somebody to come into the school system and help us, but that the school system can in fact help them, whether it's a student, whether it's a vendor. The idea about cultivating agency is, I know, something that Kaleena subscribes to extremely well. The whole idea that our objective is to empower students to become advocates for themselves and their community becomes extremely important. Equity is in fact, the heart of everything that we're doing across the whole entire organization. So the idea that we disrupt and rebuild every practice, policy, resource distribution, and system that may aid as a barrier to opportunities for all is in fact embedded in what is a historic 10-year strategic plan. I want to thank all of the folks that are on this call and those who obviously have assisted us in the incredible work in designing the country's first ever 10-year strategic plan. You can go to the next slide, David. So we have a theory. We believe that what we can in fact do is create a system that becomes self-sufficient. So if Newark develops an educational ecosystem that comprehensively organizes resources, stakeholders, and institutions in our city to support the success of students, then we will catalyze the system-wide transformations needed to establish and sustain a culture of equity, continuous improvement, unity, and success for all. There are outlined 3 clear district goals that we actually have that are designed to accomplish everything that's outlined in the 10-year strategic plan. Next slide. So there are 12 keys to 2020. These keys have, in fact, at one point in time existed in one form or another. And our objective during the course of these first couple of years of the implementation of the plan is to reestablish them again. The one extremely important one is the whole idea of the adult education program that we used to have in the school system. Next slide. So the 6 R's provide a focus as we drop the strategic plan for everyone in the chat box, as well as the logic model at the top and at the bottom of the strategic plan. We reinvest, we reinvigorate, return, research, reflect, respond. This becomes an ultimate, the focus and mantra, the foundation that we build the new system on. The 4 C's are in fact capitalized at the bottom and at the top of the organization. So it's from conception to cradle through college and career. So it's not only providing opportunities for the students throughout the academic program, grades 3 through 12, it's what happens after high school. It's what happens before they are 3 years old. So there are game changers. They're on the right-hand side of the actual logic model. These catapult students through the new ecosystem and intentionally immerse them in experiences earlier in their schooling years to profoundly impact their lives now and in the future. So the idea is that we catapult students through the ecosystem. Conception to cradle to grade 3 begins at birth. In fact, begins when the baby is in the mommy's tummy. Next slide. The consortium that we have established is a 3-tiered system. And part of what we're doing today, we already have hired 1 employee that's working out of the hospitals. We will have an employee at every single one of the hospitals. They will work at the hospitals, but they will report directly to us to actually begin the whole 0 to 3 work. We received an $8 million Head Start grant. This obviously will contribute to the incredible work that we're doing throughout the actual city. Next slide. Obviously, the graduating class of 2020 graduated with $40 million in college scholarships. A big shout out to them, and we're extremely excited to see what happens with the class of 2021. Over $4.9 million were saved for parents by not having their students have to take particular college courses because they took these college courses while they were in high school. 126 of those students actually earned associate's degrees, whether they were at Bard or at Eastside High School, an actual program that we are expanding and have been doing so across all of the comprehensive high schools. These are the AP course offerings that we are providing across the high schools. Some high schools are offering more courses than others, but ultimately in the end, whatever is the theme of the high school is consistent with the AP course offerings that are being provided to students. Our graduation rate was 80.7%, the highest it has ever been over the last 25 years. We're extremely excited about the fact that it's highest. We are obviously working hard at making it better even than that. The principal pipeline is work that we're doing with the Wallace Foundation. There were 6 school districts across the country that were in the original pilot. Now there are 90 school districts, and the Newark Public Schools is in fact one of them. And we are honored and proud to actually create a principal pipeline, not only preparing principals for their leadership roles, but obviously all that are in the line to create an incredible succession plan. So the 90 school districts are required to create and highlight a plan. And it's with pride that I say of the 90 school districts, one of the ones that has continued been recognized is the one that I lead here in Newark. Next slide.
Superintendent Leon, what is the purpose of the principals? What does it do?
So the purpose of the principals pipeline is to actually prepare future candidates for the principalship role. We know that in the principalship, you become a better principal when you're in the seat. However, we are noticing that there needs to be a bench, people that need to be ready to assume the responsibilities of principal, and we need to look at where they are. So some of them are in classrooms and they need to get into master's programs, things of that nature. So we're providing them that as an opportunity. We have a cohort of 13 teachers that are right now at Montclair State University in the master's program for educational leadership. And our expectation is to ready them for the realities that come through the process. So they're preparing, understanding what the process is, how to become a principal, what are the expectations of the principal, so that when they actually assume the role, they actually do it.
Thank you.
The 5th year of the strategic plan 2025 is super critical. All of the listed items will be flipped on its head as people's personal understandings of it, from the enrollment system to mentoring in our city, and all of the listed categories throughout. The School Leadership Council and its development, the actual long-range facilities plan, all critical towards how we grow and develop the school system. 2025, critical year, reference it in the strategic plan, as it will redefine education. A lot of people are excited by the fact that they think that the school system will continue to do what it has continued to do. And in fact, if you are not closely paying attention, when the 10th year of the strategic plan hits, you may really not even be closely aware as to what the school system has eventually evolved to. People really don't know that the city of Newark was a high-performing school district in the country, leading the country. We will work in these 10 years to get it ready for that reality after that experience. Also know, we're not waiting for 10 years to make these things happen. We've actually made incredible gains during the 1st year of the strategic plan. And the 1st year of the strategic plan was literally less than 1 year ago. Next
So
slide.
Superintendent, I want to spend, can we go back one? Because there are 2 things on here that I think are really important to ALI attendees. One is School Leadership Council, and the other is programs for children. I mean, all of these things are important, but I haven't heard too much about the plans for School Leadership Council and also the plans for program with children with exceptionalities.
Yeah.
And in explaining that, is the 5th year, is 2025 we have achieved, or is 2025 we will begin to work on reforming these things? So,
yeah, so 2025 is a milestone year. It's supposed to suggest that everything that we're saying is supposed to be in place, at least listed here, is in place and is understood by people. So for example, the School Leadership Council, one of its biggest responsibilities, the School Leadership Council is not required by statute anymore. So Abbott school districts were required to have school leadership councils, and one of their responsibilities was the interviewing of new principals for all of their respective schools. I found it to be an extremely important aspect of the work that we did between the Bolden to the Janey administration. So the School Leadership Council is something that I'm instituted in the school city, in the city of Newark, that is not required by law. And so there'll be subcommittees that will be formed similar to what the board looks like, but at the school level. Okay. The program with children, for children with exceptionalities, well, we know that if we're not worrying about and taking care of those who need us the most, no one should be comforted with what we're doing for everybody else. So the children with exceptionalities across schools, we have some really good programs, but really good programs are not really good enough. So the Bruce Street School for the Deaf, for example, has been a program where we're visiting Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. The autism program has established some really, really strong roots. And now our process is to begin to make sure that we've clearly outlined what the programs are and have hired the staff that can actually accomplish those goals. So we're in the process of doing that. And the objective is by 2025 to have everything that we're saying in place, at least everything that's listed here.
All right, so I would encourage our attendees to take a snapshot, a picture of this slide, because it seems like this slide is a good one for us to be paying attention to as things move forward. So thank you. All right, back to you.
Yes, next slide. So as it relates to our ESIP work, approximately $100 million outlined to actually begin some major improvements throughout the whole entire school system. And obviously with the ESSER money, the CARES Act, and the additional monies that President Biden is issuing, a lot of really important work will be underway. The ESIP money is prescribed. We have received bronze certified sustainable schools shields across every single high school because of the incredible work that the facilities team has done. This results with a lot of money coming into the school system, not into the school system, but into parts and aspects of the organization that will help rebuild the district. The capital bond, the district had $30 million. We've been sitting on it for since 2016. Makes absolutely no sense at all to me. absolutely no sense at all to me. And so one of the things that we've done is we've made sure we've spent that money. So we are down with like the last about $5 million or so of the monies that were there. Next slide. The CARES Act, the district was issued a little over $18 million, and that went to three basic areas, and that is personal protective equipment. It went to obviously the technology and all of the requisite upgrades that we've done, and then to the academic programming, tutoring opportunities, platforms that we've provided students across the schools. Next slide. The Special Education Medicaid Initiative is extremely important. So this is because of all of the work of the special ed department, as well as all of our parents who have assisted in completing the required applications. So this is additional money that the district received to help in our special education program. Next slide.
So special, I've never heard of that before. Can we just go back for a minute? Special Education Medicaid Initiative, what will that actually do for students?
Yeah, so based on, well, it does a number of factors. Obviously, anything that we receive that is additional can go to particular staffing issues. We're one of the only school districts that has kept all of our personal aides during this time period to provide additional resources for students as it relates to expanded time. The issue becomes how to collect this money, and it involves all of our parents, obviously, in the school district as well. Right? Yep. Next slide. So we were recognized by the Association of School Business Officials International by our budgeting practices. We're extremely proud, obviously, of this incredible honor. There are a lot of people outside of Newark who talk bad about the city of Newark. It's sad that there are people who kind of live in Newark and do the exact same. Ultimately, at the end, people sometimes live in their own realities as opposed to factual. So we are doing extremely well, and we're extremely proud of it. Next slide. This is all examples of all of the work that we have in fact been doing. Rehabilitation of bathrooms across the schools that are listed: Cleveland, Hawkins, Hawthorne, go back, Lafayette, Lincoln. Next slide. Environmental remediation at all of these schools: Abington, Bard, Carver, 14th Avenue, Hawkins, Horton, Marin, McKinley, New Jersey Regional Day, Weequahic, West Side. Next slide. The West Side High School's new gymnasium. Next slide. Gymnasium floors at all of these schools. Next slide. Replacements at particular schools. And this is a major project that will be ongoing. We have about a total of, I think, 10 to 12 schools that need to have this type of work undergone at their respective facilities. Next slide. Emergency generator replacements, extremely important across the schools. Next slide. The additional money that we're receiving from President Biden will obviously help do this. Fire alarm system upgrades across these schools, very, very important, obviously.
So
Next
Superintendent Leon, I'm going to take a moment just to ask our attendees within the Zoom for a graceful favor. So in this 36 people, there are some parents who are just getting involved in advocacy, this might even be their first community meeting. And they're trying to make sure that their questions are asked and heard. They're not the regular voices. If we were in person at ALI, things would be a bit different, but we're not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask those who are kind of just making comments in the chat. At this moment, can you just kind of fall back a little bit so that we can get the questions from the parents who are trying to ask them, because they are being moved up so quick that we can't see it. So there were a couple of, I think there was Kristen who wanted to ask a question. If you could retype it, because we are having trouble keeping up, because there are a couple of people who keep typing. We're grateful for your participation, but it's kind of silencing the voices of others and the only way that we can hear from them is through the chat. So that is a kind request.
Yep. That's why we have the parent university where actual parents show up.
Yes.
Because the parents in our school district are absolutely incredible. And sometimes they wind up hiding behind people who just speak louder. HVAC upgrades across all of the schools that are listed. Abington, Ann Street, Arts, Barringer, Horton, Carver, Shabazz, Hernandez, Weequahic, and Wilson. Next slide. Oh, mind you, all of this was work that we were already planning. It wasn't COVID related, but what happened with COVID, by people not being in the schools, we were able to actually make these upgrades while the schools were awaiting the students. Keep going, David. LED lighting upgrades, very important. Ann Street, Shabazz, Sir Isaac Newton, the Newark School of Global Studies, Early Childhood North. Next slide. Solar panels across these schools. So the other question that was asked is, what are some high school options? Well, some of you know some of this. Let's go. Okay, so I don't know if you saw Ms. Smith's point. Go back, David. Kaleena, she actually wanted to go off mute. So there are 6 magnet high schools in the district. Next slide. There are 6 comprehensive high schools in the district. Next slide. What we've done is we've partnered. Go ahead to the next slide. We have partnered the magnet high schools to every single one of the comprehensive high schools. You see, a lot of people don't know this. The magnet high schools were created inside of the comprehensive high schools. So this is our gift back to them. Higher education institutions are assigned to each of the comprehensive high schools, and then a professional organization. Next slide.
So parents, before we go to that, I want to make sure if you're a parent of a child in high school, please make sure that you're paying attention to these couplings, okay? Because it's something that you can follow up on.
Yep. So Barringer High School has the Law Academy. You will see who are the 3 different institutions, 3 different entities that are working there. So it's University, Rutgers Law School, and the McCarter and English Law Firm. Central. You have Science Park, Kane University, PSENG in their Environmental Studies Academy. Next slide. The Teacher Academy is at Eastside, so that's University, Montclair State University, and the American Federation of Teachers. Next slide.
So
at Shabazz, we have the Engineering Academy. So you have Technology High School, NJIT, and Stryker.
So Denise Cole asked a really good question, Superintendent Leon. Just as you go through them, can you let us know like how they're interacting with the students? You know, we know they're together, but what does that actually mean? Yeah, so Weequahic High School is the Allied Health Services Academy. So it's Science High School, Rutgers School of Nursing, and RWJ Barnabas Health. Last school is Westside High School. So you have American History High School, Rutgers School of Business, and Google. That is an absolutely excellent question. So you remember how I said by 2025, there'll be school leadership councils? Well, these are 3 of the entities across the comprehensive high schools that will actually sit on the school leadership councils. So the throwback to school leadership councils is not necessarily just how it used to be. It is redefined. So part of the work is that the principals of the magnet schools will work with the principals of these comprehensive high schools in partnership. That the students will take opportunities to get higher education courses at the institutions that are partnered in these comprehensive high schools. And then finally, if you look at the strategic plan, when you're in high school, there's supposed to be opportunities for you to become, to have internships, to have mentorships. Well, who better to do it than the professional organization that's actually working in our schools? So what they do and what they have been doing is having meetings. So this may be new to you if you're hearing this for the first time, but they're having meetings in redesigning the curriculum at the comprehensive high schools. And so for this September, everything that we are showing is in place. And one of the things that we've done because of the pandemic is actually rebuilt all of the structures in the schools so that the classrooms can in fact accommodate what their new uses will be. Next slide. So Arts High School will be anchored with Barringer and Eastside. So that means there will be an arts program at Arts High School, but there will also be one at Barringer and Eastside. Next slide.
Bard Early College, obviously, you know, if you attend Bard, you can get an associate's degree. Well, we're working at making that opportunity available to the students at all 6 of the comprehensive high schools with the college that has partnered with them. Next slide. Obviously, we have Eagle Academy for Young Men. This is our all male specialized school. Newark Vocational just opened up. It's in its 2nd year. This school was closed in previous administrations. This building was in fact phenomenal, but we did important upgrades as it relates to that. Next slide. Newark School of Global Studies is a new school where we're teaching Chinese or Arabic to students with very, very impressive pathways. Newark School of Data Science opens this September. The next school that also opens this September is the School of Fashion and Design. So all of the comprehensive high school, any high school, in order for you to be admitted, you need to apply, choose the schools that you would want to go to, with the number 1 being your most preferred school. You get up to 8 schools and 8 choices rather. You will get the choice that has a seat available. However, some of these new schools like fashion and design, you needed to do something more. So there was a portfolio you needed to submit. We were extremely impressed with all of the students who completed that task. The whole idea of what we are doing is in fact changing all of the high schools in this work. So the only thing that's staying the same is their name, but the actual infrastructure is different. The curriculum program is different. And all of these new schools are designed with that new difference in mind.
So Superintendent Leon, just for some of the new parents are asking a couple of really great questions. Can we go back one slide and you can tell us the ages for the schools for acceptance?
Yeah, all of the high schools is grade 9.
Okay.
All right, next slide. So there's an application, there's a test. Some schools require auditions, some schools require interviews.
Okay.
So it's really important for parents to know that, know what are all of the requirements for the school that you are seeking admissions to for your child. And then ultimately make sure that, if there is an interview that you are prepared for that. And if there isn't an interview that you maybe ask for an interview, it may actually help them better know your child. Okay, next slide. So Sir Isaac Newton Elementary School is a school that was closed during previous administrations and I reopened it. It's located at the old Newton Street School, but it is now called the Sir Isaac Newton Elementary School. All of the students that attend this school have already met with me prior to their start. All of these students will actually be admitted into Science High School after 8th grade. So in the 2025 year, we will decide, are we going to create one elementary school in every ward for every magnet opportunity that we provide? And then the students would automatically be prepared in the early grades for that school and automatically roll into that school from 8th grade to 9th grade. So Sir Isaac Newton Elementary School is the first elementary school that's designed with this in mind. We will know by 2025 if we will create another elementary school in each ward. So this one is in the central ward. We will pick one in the south, one in the east, one in the north, one in the west. There'll be 5, and those students will go to Science High School after 8th grade. No test. The only time students take a test would be to assist with placement. Okay. Currently, right now, in order to get into any of the other schools in Newark, any of the elementary schools, all you have to do is apply. All you have to do is apply. You do not have to live next to Newton Elementary School for you to be enrolled in Newton School. But my objective is this: if you like the idea of this school and these types of schools, so what we will do is create a science elementary school in each of the wards, so that instead of having to travel to Sir Isaac Newton, you might be able to walk to the school next to your house. So imagine this. So it'll be an elementary art school, an elementary history school, an elementary technology school, an elementary humanities school. We will create them in each ward. Now, the issue ultimately here that will be a decision breaker is that all of the arts elementary schools will require a lot of additional funds because that specialized school requires a lot to undergo in the infrastructure of the school. Obviously, a science elementary school does require science upgrades, things of that nature. What we have done in the meanwhile is we have created science labs in a lot of the schools that never even had a science course offered. So that's helping us assess how much money we need to have to actually make this happen. So by 2025, we will decide if we're doing this. And if we are, after that, we begin the conversions.
So Superintendent Leon, I just want to, the great thing is that we have parents who are here with us today. And so we're happy about that. However, those parents are a bit unclear. You know, some of us speak this language and it's kind of easy to get. And then for some of us, it's a little new. So I just want to take a moment to kind of ground us a bit in what we're hearing. So Superintendent Leon first presented the new high schools that are being developed in Newark Public Schools that are opening. And they are in, their entry is at grade 9. So if your child is in 8th grade, entering grade 9, then they can enroll, select those schools or apply to those schools for enrollment. Now we're talking about the new elementary schools. And the first one we presented is Sir Isaac Newton School. Sir Isaac Newton School is also, it's in, what ward is it in right now, Superintendent Leon?
Central Ward.
Right now it's in the Central Ward. So what the superintendent is saying is, Sir Isaac Newton School is in the Central Ward. It is a school that parents can select. What grade does it begin at, Superintendent?
Pre-K now.
Pre-K.
Right now it's pre-K, but it'll grow all the way to 8th grade.
All right, so right now it's enrolling pre-K. And the vision right now is that the students who attend Sir Isaac Newton in the Central Ward will automatically transition into Science Park High School. So right now that is the goal. What he is describing is that as we move forward as a city, and this is something where possibly there'll be further conversation about, is the idea of each ward having a system of schools that feed into the magnets. So each ward potentially having a science, an art, a technology school, elementary school, and that way the students are prepared, and then they will go into the magnet high school that is aligned with that school. Now that is something for a further conversation. I am just giving you it in a parent-friendly way, and I hope that is clear, parents that are asking. There are 2 questions that are coming up in the chat that we want to address. One second.
Oh. So one of the things that is really, really important to understand is that when a student, if in fact we do this, make this decision by 2025 and identify an elementary school across the wards that will focus on all of the magnets, only one will be a science, one will be an arts. So it'll be of the different magnet schools that we actually have. Maybe we're creating another magnet school, and so we would then create that. That the idea is that when a student enrolls in this school, they never have to go through the Newark enrolls process again, unless they want out of the school. So imagine when this, a little boy that's in this school, and he's in 1st grade right now, stays there until 8th grade. In 9th grade, he's automatically going to Science High School. If he now wants to go to arts, he goes through Newark enrolls to get into arts. So the only time you utilize Newark enrolls is at your entry grade when you're a little boy or little girl.
All right, thank you. And I wanted to jump in. I'm glad that you brought up the Newark enrolls system. There's some questions that are coming up regarding equity. And so I guess this is a great time to just jump in on that. And so I'll take the bigger question first.
Well, let me do this. Let me finish the other elementary school that we are just opening this September, and then we'll take all of those questions, because everyone who knows me knows I don't shy away from anybody's question. Go to the next slide. So Michelle Obama Elementary School, you do not know how excited I am to have received a communication from President Obama and Michelle Obama with regards to authorizing us to be able to actually have this school with all of the rights that come from it. This humanities elementary school, if in fact it feeds into a high school, would automatically feed into university high school in years later. This incredible program, incredible opportunities. I welcome all of you to please look at the actual video that's on the school's webpage to learn a lot about it. It's one of the first schools that we have opened up where the applications exceeded the number of seats that are there. Thank you. Thank you for letting me do that. Oh yeah,
Sure.
so we're opening up 3 more schools next school year, 22-23, 2 elementary schools and 1 high school. Our objective is that one of those elementary schools will be in the East Ward, the other elementary school will be in the South Ward, and the high school will be in the East Ward. Then the following, that year, we will be planning to open up a brand new high school in the South Ward. We're contemplating between an elementary school and another high school in the South Ward, but it'll take a couple of years to build that school. But we will actually announce where we are with that 4th school during the 22-23 portion of the year. Thanks for letting me do that.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so I do have 2 kind of big questions, and I'm going to reverse course. I said I was going to do the big one first, but I'm not. I'm going to do the smaller one first. And that is, with respect to the feeder schools, can you talk about, and the plan for the feeder schools, can you talk about the impact that that's going to have on students' access to these schools that don't attend the feeder schools? So for example, if they're already automatically going to those high schools, will that now limit the opportunities for other students across the district to be able to go to those schools? So that's part A. And part B is, can you also speak to how students with special needs are going to have access to all of these great schools that are coming up?
So to the first part, you highlight what the point is. The number of seats that will be available in 9th grade will be small. So if you are at one of these elementary schools, you automatically have rights to a seat at the high school. So when if we decide to do this, if this is where we go, then when you choose the school for your child, you need to choose that with that in mind. Now, will you be able to go from 8th grade to another school that wasn't in your magnet feeder pattern? Absolutely. But that will all be based on available seats. The second part of the question is extremely important to me. At all of these schools, we will have a specialized program, but it's extremely important to know that we will intensify the assistance and support so that students are actually successful, regardless of what is their academic program. So I contemplate that we will create and design other schools and co-locate them within our own schools as we work moving forward.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the other really big question that keeps coming up in the chat from Denise Cole and Viva and some other ones is in regard to the issues around segregation in the schools. So recently there were oral arguments at the New Jersey Supreme Court in a particular case regarding segregation of schools and the charter schools in particular. So because Newark does utilize a central enrollment system, can you speak to how the district is going to be working to combat that issue of segregation that is becoming very, very prevalent and I guess exposed within the Newark Public Schools and the charter schools?
Yeah, well, it doesn't exist in the school district, so let's be clear on that. The design of where, and I think that Ms. Cole mentioned that it was very hard to read all of the messages that were popping up as they were popping up. The whole idea that in 2016, 7 charter schools were allowed to expand beyond what their charters were defined. And so the challenge was not, should charter schools be in Newark? There are charter schools that are doing an incredible job, but I also want to say there are district schools that are doing an incredible job. There's St. Michael's from the Archdiocese and St. Benedict's that are doing incredible jobs. So the fact that children are in our city, that becomes the issue that's important to me. Any school that's educating children needs to be doing that and doing that very, very well. The big issue becomes when there is a system like exists in Newark that can fix it. The Newark enrolls system, and anyone who is in it wants to fix this issue of equity, this issue of fairness, this issue of segregation. The Newark enrolls system is designed to address that. And we have been in conversations with the charter schools on an aspect of the enrollment system. Because remember, Newark Enrolls is a computerized program. So you actually have to program it. So we're in talks with the charter schools as it relates to how we envision the programming of it to eat at the heart of the issue that creates a financial imbalance in the city of Newark. So there's a lot of work ahead. And we look forward to it being resolved with Newark Enrolls fully in place.
And
Well, if I could just,
oh, let me try, Yolanda. So I want to make sure, because I think the question really was, so we're getting all this information, which is very exciting about these new schools and the opportunity for potential feeder schools. We get that. I think the concern is that there is some racial disparity in some of our magnets, for instance, like Science High School. And so when people hear that there's going to be a feeder school into science, it kind of begins to just make us wonder about these things. There are some.
But wonder about what? If there was somebody who sent a message, we know that in the South Ward, for example, where I was born, that in the schools that the predominant race is Black. So I'm saying that one of those schools,
right,
will all of the students at one of those schools will always have a seat at Science High School. I'm not saying that that's what will happen. I'm saying that's what we're planning.
right.
I graduated from Science High School. If you look at my yearbook, there were, I think, 3 white kids, and they were actually Portuguese. And the rest of the school was about 60% Black and 35% Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the reality today.
Right.
But we will be addressing that.
Right. And the Superintendent Leon, I like to interrupt sometime because I know ALI people, I know what they're thinking, and I want to make sure we're clear. So the reason why we have classes like this is to share information. Knowledge is power. And so the solution is, if there is an opportunity in this district that you want as a leader, as a sounding board to make sure parents are aware of, then we got to do that work. And so the purpose of this conversation is for us now to tell our aunts and cousins and nieces and nephews that there are some new opportunities in the district, and here's how it works, and here's how you gain admittance, and here are the different nuances of it, so that the students that you believe should have access have access. That is a community challenge that we have to do. That is something that we have to be a part of. So while there are issues that we have to resolve that will not all be resolved in this hour-and-a-half Parent Power Hour, the first thing I really urge you all to do is take note about what is possible, about the opportunities being developed, and spread the word and make sure that folks are signing up and enrolling. And I don't want to spend too much time on that because we have a parent in our Miss One, Giovanna asked, she said she's a charter school parent. Should she be here? Absolutely, because you might decide that you hear about something that you would like to have your child be a part of in the district. So we're glad to have you here. And special education has come up a lot. How will students, is there access for students with special needs to these new educational possibilities? And if not yet, is there a plan to?
Yeah, but access? So one of the things that, so everybody knows that the only city that I love and care for is this one. It's the city that I was born in. It's the city that I went to schools in. It's the city that I work in. It's the city that I live in today. So I'm not new to any of the nonsense from this city at all. Our objective in this 10-year strategic plan is to create a new school system. And its main objective is to do what was done in the 40s and 50s without any flight of our people. Our people have the right to enjoy an incredible school system. They have that right to enjoy that. And they have the right to not listen to ignorance, because there may be a lot of that. So ultimately, children, as it relates to me as a teacher and principal, know that I don't define children by what's in their IEP. I don't define children by what's in their individual learning plan either. That when I work, I do work on behalf of children. And so ultimately, you're never going to hear me say, unless it's a conversation on special education, you're never going to hear me say, and this is what we will do for that group of students, because there's no such thing in our school system. All of the students are important. So when we're talking about the redesigning of the schools and the admissions of the schools, it's for all of the students in our school system. All of our students in our school system.
So students with, as a special needs mom, but that, you know, I just want to say that there's a reason we asked that question.
No, I get it. No, listen, let me be clear. Let me be clear. I did say, wait, let me be clear. I did say I am from here, so I know what has happened. And so ultimately, we have left students behind, and some on purpose, and some unintentionally. So the whole idea, what we want to do is make sure that everyone's aware that yes, if you have a baby that has an IEP, we have a place for them, and that we will educate your child to the degree that they will be able to accomplish all of the dreams that they actually have. That an IEP doesn't prohibit our programming. So all the mindsets that need to change, extremely important. And I thank you, for having the forum, because this becomes an opportunity to clarify things for people who seek things to be better than what they are.
And in our district, there is a special education parent advisory council that is led by Ann Fall and Safir Jenkins. And I would advise those, if you're in the chat, if you're a parent of a child with special needs, let us know so that we can connect you to CPAC. I would encourage CPAC to have some conversations around, one, how we can make sure that those schools are accessible to young people with IEPs, special needs, disabilities, and also helping to develop communication that lets parents know that, because I think that is a lot of the challenges. We don't know what's available. My son has cerebral palsy. He's 9, he doesn't walk or talk, he's in a wheelchair. And so I don't know all the spaces that are possible for him. My limit for him is to the school that he's in. And so we have to work on making sure that parents understand how to gain access. And so Yolanda is there, and we're keeping track of the questions, everyone in the chat. We only have about 20 more minutes with the superintendent. I did want to ask one question. Or Yolanda, did you have one? I can wait.
Yes, I have two more. Well, they're not that big. Well, they're big. They're important. So one, you mentioned, Superintendent, about the summer school program and summer opportunities. Can you talk specifically about what is this program, like what students is this program for? How will students be selected? How do parents find out about all of that?
So we already dropped a link to the programs, and we also should have dropped a registration link as well. So any child who resides in Newark can take advantage of any of the programs that we have. If you have a child with an IEP and they are involved in an extended year program, we have a program there. One of the things that I did is I increased the number of schools that offered summer school. You do not have to go to your own school. Let's say your school is not offering summer school, then we have a list of feeder pattern schools where your child could go. So any school that it works for you, you can register your child to attend their program. So I've increased the number of schools. I've increased the number of hours that the summer program will be, so that people can actually have their children catch up in particular areas that they need assistance in, focus a little bit more. And we're doing things that are mandatory for a certain group of students. And then credit recovery, obviously, for high school students. We have accelerated courses for students who want to be a year ahead. We have a dance program with Alvin Ailey. We have arts. We have poetry. We have sports camps. We have student leadership camps. It's an incredible opportunity to get or begin students to get back to a little bit of normalcy. This is not about reviewing this school year. This is about getting ready for the 21-22 school year.
Okay, so will schools be making recommendations for students that?
There are schools, yes, absolutely. There are schools that have already told parents, hi, this is the program that we need you to be involved in. Parents should have all received the program package already so that they can also select. So you, if the school didn't select for you, you can select for your child.
Okay, great. Now, I know we've spent a lot of time on enrollment and admission, but really quickly, it's our understanding that now the comprehensive high schools will now engage in application process or an admission process. Can you speak to that? Because a lot of parents might not know about that.
So there are a lot of people who don't know that, like I shared before, that the magnet high schools were created inside of the comprehensive high schools. You just can't walk to a comprehensive high school and just think you could go to school there. We want you to want to go to the actual school. There are incredible program opportunities that are being provided students at the comprehensive high schools. So we're making it competitive, every seat competitive, regardless of school. So yeah, if you're a parent and you attended Central High School when you were a kid and you just walked there, that's not the reality today anymore.
All right, thank you. And I want to make sure I get to this question before we run out of time. And that is, and this came earlier in the conversation, I believe from Phil Wilson, and that is the plan around closures or how the district addresses when students may become COVID positive. What is the, the direction for the district? Do you shut down the school? Or do you just shut down the classroom that child attended? Can you speak to that, especially as we start to move into September, where probably more schools are going to be opening, more days, et cetera?
Sure. It's a great question. Rob, can you drop the road back from the state of New Jersey, the transition plan that the mayor outlined, and then can you drop the district's reopening plan? So as it relates to the district, if a student is positive or an employee is positive or an individual is positive, there are up to three actions that we could take. One of them would be closing down an office, closing down a classroom, or if it's to the degree that it requires closing down a school, closing down the school. So those are the three actions that could take. We've done we've have examples of having done all of them. We've closed down schools. We closed a school on the day we opened it. We've closed down offices. We've closed down classrooms. So it is part of the reality. What I do want is for parents not to be too alarmed. And I know that this is difficult to even say or do, but part of the protocols that we have, so we have clearly outlined district protocols and specific ingress procedures. Any time that we make a decision to shut anything down for any reason, it's because we looked at our protocols and procedures and something made some fact made us do that. So we believe in science in this school system, and we will act obviously accordingly, protecting the health and safety of all of our students, no doubt, and staff. All right.
All right, Kaleena, you can take it away. I know you had something. Or do we want to, you're muted.
Yes, so I did have a couple of well, one, I'm going to combine it from Phil and Sheila Montague. There was a question around, and clarify me if I'm wrong, but in terms of the other schools, not just the ones that are new or being redeveloped, the other tens of schools in our city, what are the plans around STEM and also trades? We know that it is, trade careers are very viable for young people to be exposed to. You can make a lot of money doing trades. And I know some of the schools have trade components in them, but in terms of just overall, I think just in a sense, the second question would be, what are we doing at our existing schools to make sure that kids have access and equity as well? So the first question is STEM.
Well, that's three. So it was STEM,
Yeah.
career technical
You
education.
wanted to know about STEM.
Sorry.
Still wanted to know about trades. And lastly, from me, we want to know in terms of equity and access for kids who don't have the privilege of these other schools, what's the answer? And then Kristen, we see your hand up and we will allow you to ask your question because you've been in the chat and you're very adamant about asking it. So we want to hear your voice, okay? So we got you, Kristen. Go ahead, Superintendent.
Yeah, excellent. So you raised three issues on STEM and access. Well, one of the scary realities when we began to tour all of the schools and conduct our needs assessment is that there are schools that don't have labs, science labs. So that's what we've actually have begun and in the process, more likely than not, than having completed, and that is creating science labs in schools that don't have any access at all for students. As it relates to career and technical education, so there are specific programs at specific schools. So there's printing at Newark Vocational, carpentry at Barringer. There's dental hygiene at Central. There is this whole beauty shop at Malcolm X Shabazz High School. And then if you remember, I said that there's a new high school that would be opening up in a year from now, September 2022. That school will be an architectural school. That's where students who are interested in electricity, HVAC, plumbing, they'll be able to actually go there. And that school will start in grade 9.
And our job as leaders is to connect. I was young, I was in elementary school in NPS, and they said, Kaleena, you got a lot of artistic talent. You should go to Arts High. And that's where I graduated from. So our job, we cannot magically make 1 million programs exist in our district. However, if we are really about children, what we need to do is keep a list of what's available, and as on the ground leaders, identify young people who need to be there and make sure they get connected. That's our work. All right. And so once we begin to fill those seats and see our young people supported, I know the district is also focusing on mentoring. Folks on this call need to be a part of that as well. Then we will see our young people begin to do better. But creating a lot of opportunity without creating pathways for connection is not going to get us any further. So I'm challenging everyone here to do the work of connecting young people to opportunities as the superintendent does his work of creating them. So the next question, Superintendent, was around equity and access for all.
Yeah, absolutely.
None of these schools, what's in it for them? What are they going to get? They have big dreams too. What's for them?
When you say who has big dreams, what was it that you were saying, the context of that point?
I was just saying, if you're a student who is not in any of these new spaces, I don't know all the names of all.
No, but that's the whole idea. Every student, every student will be in these spaces. That's the strategy by 2025. So programmatically, we are changing things that are occurring in their schools right now. So everyone is undergone major changes, especially with the reality of the pandemic. We made curricular changes across all subject areas in the district. So that impacts every child. In terms of dreaming and dreaming big, well, the focus of the high schools is to do that. Let's say by 2025, we decide we're not gonna do this elementary magnet feeder pattern to magnet high school, magnet school strategy. It's gonna be really, really important because I want everyone to see. Remember when I said Arts High School? I said that there were gonna be 2 other comprehensive high schools that would also have an arts program, Barringer and Eastside. So when I say you will be prepared for an arts experience in high school, an arts magnet, that doesn't mean Arts High School. It could mean Eastside or Barringer, or it could mean Arts High School. So the whole idea about providing opportunities for every student, regardless of every single one of the schools, becomes extremely important. The only thing that I wanted to say, just as we were closing out on the trades issue, everyone needs to understand that in this school district, we were offering shop and home economics to every student in every school, usually in the middle grades. And what happened, as soon as state operation occurred, all of those classes were removed. All of those classes. The curriculum was removed. Okay? That was in 1995. So the fact that trades are important, trades have always been important. And our work right now is to rebuild the entire CTE component of very important work. We know that there are students that we will prepare for college, and there are students that we will prepare for what happens after college. We also know that there are students who are interested in a particular trade, and it is on us to make sure that we're affording them all of those opportunities as well.
Absolutely. And so
you.
thank you. And we also know that young people are interested in coding,
Yes.
write a coin or whatever that kind of stuff.
Bitcoin.
Honestly, the vision of young people have kind of surpassed us, and they like, you know what, forget y'all, we're gonna learn this on our own. And so my students are trading, and it's beyond me. And so we also got, I don't know if trading is a trade, but we also got to make sure that we are keeping up with the world, and our definition of trades needs to expand. I know there are some people on this call who would be very interested in helping to build the future of what that looks like. But we wanted to turn it over to Kristen before we close, because it's time.
Right, Kaleena, if we can, we do have another question that I think is important. There's so many good questions that are coming in, and we know we won't be able to get to all of them. But one question that
you know what, Ms. Greene, let's let Kristen do her question. Keep it 30 seconds, Kristen, and then we'll go to the next. So Kristen, unmute yourself and let us know what it is. 30 seconds, Kristen. That's why we've been asking them to keep track of the time. So you got 30 seconds. Are you still there? Yes, Kristen. Oh, let's unmute her, please.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome.
I'm a new parent to the district. We're coming from Westchester County, New York. We have regions there. Second language is a very, very important thing that they offer for the children. And I wanted to know, is that in the coming works for the district, starting in pre-K as well?
Yeah, so the Regents exam, as you're obviously already, were you a student there as well? In New York?
Keep her unmuted, Israel.
Yes, I was a student, but I'm originally from South Jersey, so I have experience with both educations in New Jersey and New York.
So thank you for that, and we will be in conversations. So I'll know more a little about your children as well. The state of New Jersey, in order to get a high school diploma, requires 1 year of a world language. That's it. That's it. And so in Newark, when Dr. Janey was superintendent, he asked me to look at the graduation requirements, and we were able to increase it for 2 years. So in a Newark high school, you would be required to take a world language for 2 years in high school in order to meet our graduation requirements. But we have students that take a 3rd year of a world language or a 4th year of a world language. When I was principal at University High School, and I was the principal there for 6 years, we offered AP Spanish and AP French. So that happens. It's rare today. A lot of what happened in the school system, and if you have a little one, then you're going to be in a good space if you're still with us by the time they get to high school. But years ago, they stopped offering advanced placement courses almost across all of the schools. Where I was principal, I used to have 19 AP courses. When I left there, they reduced that to like 2 or 3. And our students will do well. An AP course is a college level course that if you successfully pass the advanced placement exam in May, which is a national test, you wind up actually getting to not have to take the course in college. As to the little ones, there are opportunities depending on the school for them to actually take a world language course. So if you have little ones, they should be taking music, and they should be taking art, and they should also be exposed to the world language. That differs school by school depending on the enrollment at the school, prioritizing particular grades, like in the middle grades, because the idea was to prepare students for high school. You inundate them with the world language in the middle school grades. So yes, it's offered all throughout the whole entire district, a little bit more in the middle grades than in the younger grades at some schools, depending on the enrollment size, but all students at the high school would be required to declare a language that would be their graduation requirement.
And so,
Okay, that's
Kristen,
great.
okay.
I would like to also add to that. I think that we should, break the barriers and, fight for it starting in pre-K. As a college educator, I'm a nurse. And if you look at the percentages, you also see that the minority levels are low on that, that spectrum, but also Hispanic language is, it's rising, and a percentage of, those using it is rising, and you have more advantages with knowing that language. And I think that we should definitely look into breaking that and being one of the, schools, the districts that offer that. And I'm willing to jump on that and, help.
Write her name down.
Awesome.
Write her name down.
Because it's important. And I also had to
You're
stay
right,
back
Kristen.
a grade. I grew up in South Jersey. I'm from Camden, New Jersey. I moved to Westchester County. I had to fight to graduate, on time, because when moving to another state, the testing requirements are very different. I had to double up on my classes as a senior to graduate on time. And, the grade levels and things like that are totally different from New York. And the requirements are totally different, and I just wanted to bring that to the attention. And, if we add more of those type of programs, it helps a child like myself who had to fight and double up on classes to graduate on time.
Thank you, Kristen. I think that what you have brought to the table is an excellent point, and I think that's why we stress for parents to be involved in the conversation in the process from the beginning. ALI recently applied for a state grant to expand access to pre-college programs to young people with disabilities. And from the moment of thinking about applying, we started to talk to parents because we wanted to make sure our vision for what we wanted to present was as sound as possible and we weren't missing anything. And it really impacted our success, and we were actually awarded that grant from the state of New Jersey. So, parent voice is amazing. And Kristen, we will connect you with some of the parent leaders on this call, and hopefully you'll stay with us. And also the other parents that are here with us for the first time, and those who were with us all the time, like Ms. Holder. Let's just continue to be present for these meetings. This is a normal ALI class. Y'all know it's 3 hours, and you see why. It's 3 hours, and we take our time and we break it down. But, we can't do that right now. But going forward, we will continue to have smaller conversations to have a better understanding. We thank you to Superintendent Leon for his presentation and for his time today. We thank you for his team for helping us out. Now the work begins. All of us on this call, there are different things that we think are important that need to happen. There needs to be more conversation. I think that's, clear about the future. We know that the things that we want to do, but we absolutely need everybody's input on how to make it happen. I think one place is those school leadership councils are going to be critically important to ensuring equity and access. If there's a team at each school that is consistent of parents, educators, staff who are planning for that school. At my son's school, everybody knows this because I say it every chance that I get. I'm a parent, regular parent. Nobody cares about me in Jersey City. I'm a nobody. I'm just a parent. And they tried to, overlook us for a little while. But our persistence resulted in $3 million of renovations for our son's school, a brand new principal, and a vision for the future. And that was because we formed our own little leadership council and we got it done. And so parents, that's what we have to do, school by school. Kristen, when your child is enrolled, you may say, look, my child doesn't have access to language. They need access. Let's fight for that. That's a school-based decision that, we can advocate for. And then collectively, all of us can advocate for the things that we need to happen district-wide. All right.
Kaleena, can we squeeze a couple more things in though? I know it's getting late.
Absolutely not. They have his email and his number.
Okay.
We are done. because it is
I want to
one
thank
o'clock.
you all. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Superintendent.
it.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all of you. Have a great Sunday for those of you celebrating Mother's Day. And thank you for allowing me to be with all of you. It was absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Thank you guys. And thank you everyone. We'll go back to community
Thank
view.
you.
We tried our best to just make sure that we stayed to time to honor everyone. I know there's plenty more questions and things. We have plenty of ways to ask them, school board meetings, other meetings, and future ALI meetings. But
Your
thank you so much.
principals, the principals of the schools.
Yes, we have more. And the Abbott Leadership Institute is here if you need any assistance. We also have parent leaders here like Wilhelmina Holder, Sheila Montague, Phil Wilson, Margaret Key, who is an OG ALI attendee. So glad to see her. Viva White is here. Joyce McCree is here. So there are some parent leaders who are here. Brenda Brown is here. And Brian Taylor is here. I'm just looking through. And if you have any advocacy issues, find them. They will be helpful. They are champions for our children. Everyone have a good Saturday. Happy Mother's Day. And we will see you next time. All right. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good, happy Mother's Day to all of the parents here. To any of the parent leaders who I've called out, if you'd like to put your name and email in the chat, we appreciate it. In case they want to reach out to you, they can. And have a good Mother's Day. Thank you all for your questions and your comments. Denise Cole is here. Oh, absolutely. If you need some help, some advocacy, Denise Cole is on the job. Wave your hand, Denise Cole, so they know who I'm talking about. Up in the top, I see you. Yes, she is a stellar advocate. Her and Ms. Holder, they are on the job any time of day. So Kristen, any of the newer parent leaders, if you need any help, absolutely, Denise Cole and Ms. Holder are excellent. All right, we are still live on Facebook, but we're shutting down.